Hello and welcome to the Quick News Daily Podcast, where I give you the facts first, no clickbait stories, just real news that matters to real people. Today is Wednesday, September 9th, and lordy, there are tapes. We'll get to that in just a second, but that is the big breaking news of the day so far. The rest of the show, however, will feel similar to yesterday's show, where we have a lot of smaller stories, but there was a Trump rally yesterday, so you already know how much content that provided to me. It's good stuff in a disgusting, horrible way, so you won't want to miss a minute of it. Let's get caught up. Of course, we have to start with the big news of the day, and all I have to say is thank God for Bob Woodward. Here's Donald Trump in his own words on February 7th.
And so what was President Xi saying yesterday?
Well, we were talking mostly about the virus, and I think he's going to have it in good shape, but, you know, it's a very tricky situation.
Indeed
it goes through air, Bob. That's always tougher than the touch. You know, the touch, you don't have to touch things, right? But the air, you just breathe the air, and that's how it's passed. And so that's a very tricky one. That's a very delicate one. It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus. You know, people don't realize we lose 25,000, 30,000 people a year here. Who would ever think that, right?
I know. It's
pretty amazing. And then I say, well, is that the same thing? This is more deadly. This is 5 per. You know, this is 5% versus 1% and less than 1%. You know, so this is deadly stuff.
Yeah, apparently Bob Woodward is writing a book on the Trump presidency, and Donald Trump was moronic enough to say this on tape to the guy who brought down Nixon. I mean, it's like a cop once said on the show Cops, you don't catch the smart ones. By the way, even his brain can comprehend at that point that coronavirus has passed through the air, which we didn't know for quite a while after that. And he already knew that back in February, early February, when we should have started wearing masks. Not only that, you hear him say 5% is what the death rate probably is about this. That means, now I'm not exactly sure if he can multiply anymore, or if he ever could, but he says 25,000 is the low number for flu deaths. Okay, so 5 times 25,000 is 125,000 people dead. Now he's saying it's a hoax, it's not real, so at that point he has made the decision in his head that 125,000 dead Americans is okay, as long as he doesn't panic the stock market. That's literally what his mind went through in the decision-making process on this. And if you don't think he was trying to hide it from us, here's Trump on March 4th on Sean Hannity.
Today, the global death rate at 3.4% and a report that the Olympics could be delayed. Your reaction to that?
Well, I think the 3.4% is really a false number. Now, this is just my hunch, but based on a lot of conversations with a lot of people that do this, because a lot of people will have this, and it's very mild.
Less than 1% when he knows it's 5%. Now, it's lowered a bit since then, but it really depends. We're not going to know until this is mostly behind us. It's never going to be gone at this point, but whenever we get it to sort of like the flu levels. Now, remember when Trump said that the kids are basically immune to this sort of thing, so that's why they should go back to school? He said that numerous times. Well, let's take a listen again.
Now it's turning out it's not just old people, Bob, just today and yesterday. Some startling facts came out. It's not just older
exactly.
Young people, to plenty of young people.
So,
what's going on in
that conversation was from March 19th. March. Now, you might be saying, well, how do you know that he was intentionally trying to cover it up? You weren't there. And he's not dumb enough to admit that on tape, is he? Well...
Give me a moment of talking to somebody, going through this with Fauci or somebody who kind of, it caused a pivot in your mind, because it's clear just from what's on the public record that you went through a pivot on this to, oh my God, the gravity is almost inexplicable and unexplainable.
Well, I think, Bob, really, to be honest with you,
Sure, I want you to
I
be.
wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down.
Yes,
because I don't want to create a panic.
Yeah. Yep. He was downplaying it the entire time so as not to cause a panic in the stock market. Now, he doesn't say that part, but just kind of spitballing here and thinking that maybe, just maybe, the man who will accept 125,000 deaths just so the stock market will be fine so he can get reelected might not care about panicked people. It's actually impossible for a narcissist to care about or even comprehend other people's feelings. This man does not care if you or anyone in your family lives or dies, so long as he gets reelected and doesn't have to face consequences or judgment for his crimes. In the field of getting prominent endorsements, it's more of the same today for Joe Biden. The Republicans for Biden group put out a video yesterday showing former Republican Attorney General for the state of Arizona, Grant Woods, endorsing Joe Biden over Donald Trump. Again, this continues the trend of big names and big politicians, including tons of Republicans, who are endorsing Biden over Trump. I mean, I suppose I shouldn't slight Trump, because again, he has the Goya Beans guy and the MyPillow guy, so quite a formidable force there. In any case, let's listen to a bit of what the former Attorney General had to say.
I think I know a little bit about public safety, about crime, about how we keep our people in our state of Arizona and across the country safe. I watched Donald Trump, and I can tell you this, he has no idea what he's talking about. Are we safer right now in the United States? Do we feel better about ourselves than we did 4 years ago? Absolutely not. Donald Trump's presidency has been a failure when it comes to making people here in Arizona and across the country feel better about their lives and about their safety. It's time to put the adults back in charge. It's time to remember what the Constitution is all about. I ask people to join with me in supporting Joe Biden as the next president of the United States.
Let's shift to another story I'm sure you've seen at least one headline about so far, and that's this COVID vaccine trial being paused because a volunteer has gotten sick. The trial that is put on by the partnership between Oxford University and AstraZeneca, they're trying out a COVID vaccine, well, they had to put it on pause because one participant got a, quote, potentially unexplained illness. So they paused the trial to allow for an independent committee to do a safety review. Both AstraZeneca and Dr. Charlie Weller, head of vaccines at a UK company, who was interviewed for this story in NBC News, which is where this is coming from, both Dr. Weller and AstraZeneca say that this is a normal part of vaccine trials. But the problem here today is that these trials are under such a fine microscope, or such a strong microscope. What's the metaphor phrase there? But it's definitely under intense scrutiny, especially in our country, since vaccines are like our only hope to get back to normal at this point. Like the Trump administration has just put everything on these vaccines. On top of all of that, there are these legitimate fears that Trump is pressuring these drug makers to release something quickly before the election so that he can say, oh, look, we're all going to be fine. Now Biden's going to raise your taxes. Like that should matter to anyone. So, while we have to be cautious about these fears and just acknowledge them and know that they're here, for now, we'll have to let this independent committee investigate and see if anyone else becomes sick, or if this is maybe just a one-off thing. Maybe the illness becomes explained in just a bit. I want to highlight something for those of you who are like me, who have a real stake in the climate change, and our natural resources. Yesterday, at that rally we'll get to in a second, Trump announced an extension on the ban of drilling for oil offshore of Florida's coasts. This presidential order, this executive order, is supposed to extend the ban by 10 years, so now it goes all the way to 2032. But, like I said, it was done by presidential order, so I'm not sure if this is really that binding. It could just be a show for the swing state in Florida, where another big story from yesterday is that, oh, there's this poll out there that shows Biden and Trump are tied in Florida. Maybe we'll get to that in a second. But right away, Biden hit back at the rest of Trump's environmental record, basically saying it's all talk, and even in that talk, he still claims that climate change is a hoax by the Chinese or whatever. So he doesn't really have a real record to stand on. This is probably just for show. The part where it gets interesting is that there is actually some reporting that backs up that claim. Back in June, Politico had a report saying that the Department of Interior, who's in charge of land and natural resources essentially, was actually preparing to allow oil and gas drilling near Florida, but that they wouldn't say so until after the election. These are coming from sources within the department. So, that's the thing about presidential or executive orders. They're easy to change if they have any weight at all. They can be reversed by the president. So, again, I just keep coming back to it. We'll have to see how much weight this actually carries, because some executive orders seem to hold up better than others, but they're designed to not be really important because of the whole premise of we don't want a king. I would say, for right now, it's pretty safe to assume this is mostly a stunt. Let's talk about that poll in Florida for just a second. It's an NBC News Marist poll. It polled likely voters in Florida, and it shows that Biden and Trump are both tied 48% to 48%. Now, I looked on 538.com, who has ratings of polls, and Marist is actually an A-plus pollster. But what I was surprised to find is that all of the A-plus ones still had a margin of error of about 5%. And that's actually pretty close to what this poll ended up being. This poll has a margin of error of 4.5%. So to me, that sounds like pretty significant, because that could mean Biden's up like 52-48 or something like that. Or 52-47, something in that neighborhood. Or Trump could be too, who knows. But this could be why Trump thought it was so important to sign that executive order about the drilling, because maybe he knew this was coming out soon and that he would get a boost from this. The interesting thing though, Real Clear Politics, which usually leans at least a bit Republican, still has Biden up 1.2% on average. They take all of the polls and average them. So in that one, Biden is up 48 to 47 in just Florida alone, I'm talking. So, I don't know, is this one an outlier? Is it actually that close? What happened to the ones that were showing Biden up like 6 or whatever? I guess the thing to keep in mind is that Florida is always going to come down to the wire. The famous saying after 2016 was, you could give Florida voters the choice between a scoop of ice cream or a kick in the head, and it would be 51-49. So yeah, Florida, always kind of a shit show. It's always Florida. Quickly, in just another story that shows how Trump is corrupting all facets of the U.S. government, and actually it's more William Barr, Interior Minister William Barr, yesterday in a, quote, highly unusual move, that's the New York Times language, meaning it's never been done before and it shouldn't, the Department of Justice moved to replace Trump's private legal team with federal lawyers. And this is for the defamation lawsuit brought by E. Jean Carroll, who is accusing Trump of raping her back in the 1990s in Manhattan. They're saying that since Trump denied ever knowing Carroll, or basically saying that she's not his type anyway, an actual thing he said, the Justice Department is arguing that since he was president when he said those things, he should be able to be represented by U.S. lawyers, like U.S. attorneys, which is not how it's supposed to work, to say the least. These are people we pay tax dollars for. It's just not how this stuff works. The Department of Justice isn't the president's personal legal team. The main consequence of this move is that it basically overrules a state judge's ruling last month that made it possible for Trump to be deposed before the election in November, which he obviously wouldn't want, and who knows if he would show up for it anyway. But this is basically another stall tactic at best, and a complete misuse of government resources at worst, and most likely. This sort of thing is the reason that a lot of people actually say that Bill Barr is the most dangerous person in government, not Donald Trump, because Bill Barr is actually still with it and basically just willing to make the president a king and just steamroller everyone in the process. And finally, let's get to whatever happened in North Carolina last night. The Trump rally here, let's take a listen to some of the highlights.
Good. Now these crowds, I tell you, it's beyond what we had in terms of enthusiasm, beyond what we had 4 years ago in 2016.
Bragging about crowd size during a pandemic when almost none of them are wearing masks. Bold move.
By the way, you know who's further left than crazy Bernie? Kamala.
Geez, a black woman. I can't imagine why Trump would intentionally mispronounce her name and just make fun of it in general. He respects both of those groups very much.
Nobody has been through what I've been through as President of the United States. Nobody.
Don, 4 presidents have been assassinated, so... But no, for sure, yeah, you've been treated the worst.
You know, they used to say Abraham Lincoln got the worst press. I said, there's no way he got worse than me. But Lincoln was very, very badly treated by the fake news. Maybe in his case it was real. I can tell you, in my case, it's fake. It's totally fake.
Love the subtlety there. Just has to get one little shot in at Lincoln about, oh, maybe the press was right. Maybe he was the bad guy going against slavery. I mean, what the... Interestingly enough, some people have said the Lincoln Project has gotten under his skin so much that he subconsciously links them to Abraham Lincoln, so that's why he's always attacking him. It's sort of hard to tell any train of thought in that broken mind of Trump's. And by the way, don't take my word for it. Here's another clip from that same rally.
We're going to be appointing very pro-crime judges, but they want to destroy your suburbs. You know the rule, the regulation that I just terminated. They want to build low-income projects in the suburbs. They've been doing it. They've been destroying suburbs. We're not doing it anymore.
Pro-crime judges, huh? They want just a ton of crime? Always love a judge who wants some crime. One last one here.
World's #1 terrorist and the mass murderer of American troops, Qasem Soleimani. We got him too, Soleimani.
The man just short circuits when he tries to say troops. That's not just like a casual stumble. This man is slurring words. Alright, that'll do it for me here today. There's really no special announcements today. Just the usual, add a review if you like what you hear, give me personal feedback through the Google form, that sort of thing. Actually, I lied. I almost forgot it again. I forgot it yesterday. I think just starting on a Tuesday kind of threw me off. But we have to give a very special thank you shout out to the people who helped make this show possible. And those people are our producer, Kathy, and our executive producer, Gwen. Again, thank you so much for supporting the show. Otherwise, stay safe, make your plan to vote, fill out your census, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow.